It's time for Helmet Stickers, featuring Evan Lowe.
What's going on, RPG Nation? Welcome to another episode of Helmet Stickers here. I'm your host, Evan, and I'm joined here by Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, just scrumptious. I haven't talked to you in about 8 seconds, so it's been a long time.
That back-to-back waiver wired and helmet stickers, I think we got a good thing going here,
Oh, yeah. Monday afternoons are my favorite.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. All right. Well, hey, we're here to give you a recap on week 5 of the college football season. We're going to go over the top 15 like we have been. This will be the final episode with this current top 15. And then we're going to move on next week. I'll have a new top 15 for you. Most likely we'll be seeing some running backs drop off this list and a couple wide receivers jumping on it. Maybe a quarterback. We'll see how it goes. All right. So starting with quarterbacks here, we had Caleb Williams. I think he can't really have a stock up. So I'm going to say a stock neutral. He's continuing to solidify himself as the 101 with that 6 touchdown performance against Colorado. I mean, the USC offense just looked good. Colorado defense looks like Swiss cheese, like we all expected. So I'm going to say stock neutral, definitely not losing any ground. If anything, he's solidifying himself. Drake May was idle this past week, and then Quinn Ewers, you finally saw that Texas offense kind of just say, hey, we're going to let you throw the ball, sling it around a little bit. 35 attempts. Was a pretty big week for him. Usually you see him in the high 20s. So that was a good week for him against Kansas, which was a game that you really wanted to see them win and win handedly. Texas looks like they're for real, and they look like they're going to be making a bid for the playoffs. Anybody else you got, Mike, that you want to tout?
At quarterback, no. Shedeur Sanders, he made a couple of very good NFL level throws. I am excited to see what your next top 15 looks like, but he should probably be in there for Superflex.
Yeah, Shedeur, as long as he comes out in 2024, he's been looking pretty good. There's talk from Dion that he's going to come out in 2025, and he's going to be able to get Shedeur to come back to school with a lot of NIL money. The Jackson Dart game that he had down against LSU, gritty performance, gutty performance. That's another quarterback that love watching. Do I think he's going to be a high caliber NFL quarterback? Probably not. But I do think that he could be a very good backup in the NFL. All right. So then moving right along, we're going to talk about some tight ends here. And the only tight end on this list, as expected by most, is Brock Bowers. Absolutely torched Auburn in the second half. He just came alive and put that Georgia team on his back and took them to a win. You got any other so I'd say stock up for Brock Bowers. You got any tight ends that you want to talk about, Mike?
Texas tight end, still looking good. Sanders moves what you want a fantasy tight end to move like. He's not the Darnell Washington big bruiser that's going to block all the time. This is a offensive weapon that if he finds himself in the right system could – I'm not saying he's going to be a Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, but he could be an Evan Ingram type where you're very happy. You feel like you have what you need. I was reading a Dynasty Nerds article earlier. They're really excited about Michael Trigg, the tight end from Ole Miss. I don't think that he did anything too crazy this last weekend.
I'm pretty sure Trigg isn't with the team anymore, if memory serves. So,
well, I guess he's off the list then. They need to update this article. But, yeah.
Yeah, so real quick question on Brock Bowers. How high in the tight end rankings do you think he's going to be when he comes into the league? Because I think there's a case for him being a top 5 dynasty tight end right off the rip.
With the state of the tight end position that we just had to talk about in the waiver wire show, he's got to be top 5, top 6 at worst. It's Kelsey's going to stay top 5 until he retires. Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson. This is in no order. This is just how they're coming to my head. I think Mark Andrews is the tight end one right now. After those 3, it's the Kittle, Waller, Pitts, Laporta, hilarious that Laporta's in that tier after 2 big games, and they weren't even that big. He scored like 10 fantasy points, but whatever. Here we are. So yeah, I think that he firmly unseats those guys depending on what system he goes to. But I'm also kind of rooting for chaos. Atlanta Falcons 2024. With the
Don't do this to me.
With the 5th overall pick, select Brock Bowers.
Man, we've been wanting to see a tight end in the Chargers offense for so long. If he goes there, the fantasy world's going to blow up. We hope for it every year.
Yep.
Whatever athletic tight end there is, we just hope for it. But the boy can dream, you know.
One of these days, but probably not these days. No other tight ends other than the classic Johnny Wilson joke.
Yeah, no other tight ends at this point. All right, so moving along, we're going to talk about some wide receivers. Wide receivers a little short this week. Ohio State was on a bye, so Marv and Emeka were idle this week. Malik Neighbors once again took over a game. He's been looking fantastic for LSU, doing exactly what we wanted to see Boutte do last year. He's been putting up the absolute numbers. I get it. Ole Miss defense, their defense just didn't look like they wanted to go out there and play this week. It was a tough game. The LSU offense was efficient. They were moving the ball up and down the field, and it was a really fun game to watch. Tons of points, a lot of fun. But Neighbors is doing exactly what I want to see out of him. I'd say a little bit of a stock up for him. Rome Odunze. For Washington, Corey's Huskies over here. Worst statistical week of the season. It looked like Arizona had him pretty boxed up most of the game. Washington didn't score nearly as many points as everybody expected going into that game. So I'm going to say slight stock down, but I'm not going to put too much stock into it. I still think that Odunze is a top 5 wide receiver in this class. Xavier Worthy, they played Kansas and they played him well. He had a good game. I think it was one of his best games of the year. That Texas offense, though, I still think it runs through the ground game and then it runs off of Quinn with some play actions or some balls that he's just taking and being able to sling it outside. Worthy, I still have issues with his drops, as I continue to say, but we'll see how he continues to develop. Any other wide receivers for you, Mike?
No, just a later round guy that he's definitely benefiting from being on the receiving end of Caleb Williams. Taj Washington had a huge game. He's 5'10", 175, but he has clearly earned Caleb Williams' trust. And let's say they do something where they draft Caleb Williams 1 overall and they hit Taj Washington in the 3rd or 4th round. Just having that built-in chemistry might make him a serviceable wide receiver for fantasy purposes.
Fantastic. Some other names to mention here, A.D. Mitchell at Texas as well. I think you can make the argument that AD is really the best wide receiver in that offense. So we'll see how that all shakes out the rest of the season. And then Troy Franklin, once again, with Oregon, he's just looking like the absolute alpha in that offense. And he will, sneak peek, be in the top 15 next time around.
Ooh, how exciting.
So.
Big mover.
Big mover. All right, moving on to running backs. Like I said, we had an idle week from Travion Henderson. We had Raheem Sanders, who came back from injury, and he didn't do great against A&M, but it was great to see him back. You see some real tough running. You see him make yards out of nothing, catching some balls behind the line of scrimmage, fighting through 3-4 arm tackles just to be able to pick up 2 yards, really trying to do his team a solid and try and put the team on his back. And then Donovan Edwards, once again, a very bleh week, definitely going to be falling off of there. And Trey Benson was idle as well. Braylon Allen, once again, idle. So didn't really have many running backs to talk about. And then Will Shipley, just kind of doing Will Shipley things, being pretty average. Don't really see him going as a first-round dynasty rookie pick at this point. Probably second round solidified at this point, but he can definitely catch passes. Anybody else you want to shout out, Mike?
No, it was tough having most of the top guys not be able to appear this week. I was trying to pull up the NCAA leaderboard and see if there's anyone else that spoke to me emotionally, but it's Ray Davis from Kentucky, Kadarius Callaway from ODU, Jonathan Brooks from Texas. They just know how to grow running backs. It's nobody that's really exciting for drafts this year, and Cooper doesn't like him either.
Yeah, Brooks has been fantastic. We're talking 25 prospects at that point. Now, I definitely think 25's got some really good running backs and really good wide receivers that are going to be coming out in that draft. So that'll be fun. Once again, it feels like wide receivers are just growing on trees these days. It feels like every class you're talking about having, 3, 4, 5 potential wide receivers that could go in the first round of your dynasty draft. So
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a bad wide receiver draft ever again with just how they're developing them early.
all right. Well, sounds good. I think that wraps us up for this week. Made a nice short show with all the bye weeks for the guys that were in the top 15 here. Like I said, we'll be getting a new top 15 coming in next week. I'll make sure to post that in our Discord here and let everybody know who we're going to be talking about. And then make sure to tap back in for the helmet stickers week 6 with the new names on there. Get to know some new faces, some new players, some new offenses maybe.
Real quick, where's Braylon Allen in your top 15 for next week?
Braylon Allen is a questionable to make it. He's on the fence. He's on the fence.
I'm ending the stream. That's enough. But hey, thanks for letting me hop on. It's always good to chop it up, and I'm excited to see this new update and how Braylon Allen's top 10.
Always appreciate it, Mike.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Or just stare at us while I click end stream. There it is. Good night, everybody.